Guys, welcome to another edition of the Dr. Cloud Show. It's good to have you here on a Friday as we're getting close to a weekend. It's kind of hard for me to tell sometimes. I mean, other than work, like when's the weekend and when's the week, and how many weeks are we into pandemic land? What a different world we live in. But one of the same things, or things that is the same about the world we live in, is that it still has people in it, and that means you, and that means me, and that means wherever we got people, we got a bunch of stuff, and so much of that stuff is awesome stuff, like feeling connected and encouraged and laughing, and just like pushing each other to greater heights and laughing at each other and enjoying each other's skills and talents and all that great stuff. That's part of what happens when people are involved. And then there's the other side of that, which is sometimes we have some issues that gets in the way of all that, gets in the way of how well we connect and how well we are the ways we push each other. Sometimes we don't push each other enough, and sometimes we push each other in ways that's not helpful. Sometimes our talents don't end up in a beautiful song, but they end up in stage fright to where we can't sing. So that's what this show's about. The show's about all of that human stuff. The upside of what we can be and long to be, and the potential, which is what I want for all of you. Me too. But also, we got to deal with the things that pull us down, things that pull us apart, things that rip us apart, things that keep us stuck. So on this show, we talk about all of that. And we do it by you calling in to talk to me at 844-940-2774 to be live here on the Dr. Cloud Show. 844-940-2774 is the number. And the way this works is, for those of you who are new, you can call in during this hour, and then the show will actually remain there, 24/7. And if you hear something you want to share with somebody, or if you want to just share the program, we need you to do that so we can continue to build an audience and continue to stay here. And so share it. But that's the way it works. You can call in during this hour. If you did call in yesterday, you had some problems, and those weren't your problems. Those are our problems. We had some kind of technical glitch that, we never even got to the root of it with the software that makes all this work. But then we rebooted everything, and Groundhog's Day, we started over and everything worked. And so I think we're good today. So that's what we're going to be doing. Now, I always open the show with just sharing a little thought with you. And I want to share a thought with you that is going to push you a little bit. And I promise you, I'm only pushing you here for your own good. All right. I'm only pushing you for your own good. And that is this thought that when there's something that we really need to do, and I don't mean need to do out of obligation. I don't mean need to do because somebody says you should. I don't mean that at all. I mean need to do from your heart, because there's something that you want that's on the other side of that doing. Okay? We need to do something to get what we want, and we need to do it, but it makes us anxious to think about doing it. And so what we do is, when we get anxious about doing it, what we do is we back off and we avoid it and we don't do it. Now, a couple of really bad things just happened when I do that. They're going to keep me from getting to what I want. And here's the couple of bad things that are going to happen. Number one is, I didn't do what I got to do to get what I want. Okay, that's the bad thing, right? I mean, okay, I'm hungry. I got to get the food in my mouth, but I'm afraid that I might drop it or spill something. Okay, well, so I don't do it. Well, what's the biggest, baddest thing that happens? I'm still hungry. So whatever it is I want in my life and whatever it is that you want, that's on the other side of you doing something and we avoid it. The biggest problem is that still is something we're not going to have. All right. Take something simple. Let's say that you have a longing or a dream to go visit some place in the world or even in the country, or go be with a friend and visit a friend, or go on a reunion with some people, or go on a honeymoon, or go on a service trip, or you know where I'm going with this, right? But it involves getting on an airplane. See, what you really want is on the other end of getting on an airplane. But that getting on the airplane is something that scares you. So what you do is you start to think about it, go, but you get scared. And then we back off. We don't do it. Well, the biggest problem with that is we'll never get to the place we're going to go. That's number one. But here's number two. And this is my word for you today, that I'm going to push you a little bit as a wake-up call. That when we don't do it, we're really not where we were before that, backing off. We're actually now even further entrenched for a very, very simple psychological, neurological, physiological, brain, all the logicals reason. And that is the avoidance just got reinforced in your head as an answer to anxiety. It just got reinforced as an answer to anxiety. How does that work? Well, I want to get on a plane. I start to feel anxious. I think about, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to buy the ticket. I go online. I start to buy the ticket. Then I start to think about it and go, no, I can't. It's too scary. I can't do this. And so what do? I go, I'm not going. All right. That moment when I said I'm not going, something happened. The anxiety went away. And the brain rewards you now because, oh, I found the answer. The answers don't go. This is the way to not be anxious. Avoid it. And that just got reinforced. And so those neurological wirings and trenches just got further, it's like carving a groove in a stream. It just got deeper, which makes it harder the next time. So every time we avoid something, not only are we not getting what we want, but we're also kind of making it harder to go try it the next time. Now, here's the hope. There is hope. You know what? I'm going to call it more than hope. This isn't even hope. This is certainty in so many ways, in so many instances. Now, I don't mean everybody should just go get back on the horse real quickly. But here's what we know, that when we stop avoiding and have a good process of entering into and leaning into what we're afraid of, that this is proven over and over and over and over, that if we cannot avoid and take a little step into it and not retreat and then just hang out there for a moment and then keep going, guess what happens? Your brain learns something new, and it learns, oh, wait a minute. Nothing bad's going to happen. I was wrong. My brain says it was wrong. And so now what does it do? Sorry about that. Not gonna bother you with those false alarms anymore. And now the anxiety has gone down because we face the fear. Airplanes is one. But what about conflict? We've had a lot of dating calls on here. Forget conflict. What about just stepping out and interacting with somebody you might be interested in? We've had a lot of calls for them. Make somebody anxious. So what do? They avoid being out there. So this thing called fear, it's bad deal, guys, because here's what it does. it makes your world systematically smaller until we're living in one little corner and we don't have the whole playground of life to go build a life in. Oh, we protected ourselves all right. But remember in the parable of the talents, the one that was afraid, he said, I just buried my talent in the ground so I would still have it. Nothing bad would happen. I won't lose it. Well, he didn't get anywhere. And that's all of us. You know, over the course of time, we don't have time today because I don't want to preach at you the whole time. I want to talk to some callers, but I can name 3 or 4, like significant junctures in my life where and I'm going to say, if God hadn't have made me step into those fears, I certainly wouldn't be talking to you today. One of those was about, it's a long story. I'm not going to tell it now, but it involves a miracle. Where one of them was public speaking. I just wouldn't do it. I was too scared. I avoided it. Something bad happened to me in junior high school, and I just would never do it. And then later in life, God told me I had to do it. And so I had to lean into that. And it was really, really hard. I had to get some help to do it. But, and now, put me in front of, millions of people on the airwaves, or, however many, 30,000 people in an arena. And I'm really not scared. I'm not anxious at all. There was a time when I couldn't give my final book report as a senior in high school. And I was going to flunk, and I was a good student. I was going to flunk senior English. Wouldn't have been able to graduate if the teacher hadn't given me permission to come give her the book report after class, because I would not stand up in front of a class and do an oral book report. I could not do it. I was too paralyzed, that fear. So I'm saying this, not only as a psychologist, I'm telling you that fear doesn't have to make your life small if we can lean into it. Okay. So there's my little lesson today. If you go to boundaries.me, I have a lot of stuff on there about anxiety and, dealing with anxiety and all these kinds of fears, as well as other stuff. Go to boundaries.me, and tons of topics on there if you want to go further and deeper in this. But for today, I want you to ask yourself, what is it I want? Maybe it's a relationship thing. Maybe it's a goal in life. Maybe it's getting well in some clinical arena. Maybe it's facing an addiction, whatever it is. But what do I want? That some step has got to be taken for me to get there. And I'm afraid of the step. What am I afraid of? And I back off, and that gets me comfortable again, but I haven't got what I want because I'm afraid. Let's start to face those fears. Okay. I want that for you. If it's too overwhelming, don't do it. Get some help. If one big step is too overwhelming, don't do it. Just take a small step, even to pick up the phone and call a good psychologist about it, or, talk to a friend. But let's do something. Okay. 844-940-2774. And we're going to go to the great state of Texas. I always say that I love Texas, got a lot of friends there. Actually, I did a lot of work in Texas, and I lived there for 5 years. So it's a heartfelt place to me, Brian. I don't know where you're calling from in Texas, but welcome to the program.
Hi, Dr. Cloud. I was listening to your program yesterday, so I just want to make sure you can hear me.
Well, Brian, I'm amazed that you came back. Yesterday was so chaotic. It was, and I'm sitting there like talking. I'm going, I bet, eyes are glazing over. People are just, going to sleep. But at least we can talk to some callers today. So thanks for coming back.
No, oh, you're welcome. I think a lot of people seem like they got a lot from your monologue. That was good. Um, so I had a question about something that maybe it was just a topic you've been talking about with some of the emails I've been getting from boundaries.me and some of your other your emails about tolerating deception and lying in a relationship. And it
Yeah.
has to do with some of the things that you've even been talking about recently with, operating under fear and people pleasing.
Yeah.
I was in a really confusing relationship with someone that I didn't realize had been struggling with a lot of that. And I'd grown really attached to her. We were from the same church, and we were really good friends. And she seemed very confident, very vibrant. But the closer that I got, it
Now,
seemed like a lot of
you got closer as friends, or were you starting to date, or what was happening?
starting to date. And I think
Starting to
that, and you have a limited amount of time here, but basically it just seemed like it was the kind of push pull thing where what came out eventually was that she had not been honest with me about her true feelings or desires. And unfortunately, the stakes got so high that, I was told things like, well, I would have married you in a heartbeat if you just would have asked me that. But that was never expressed to me at the time. It was only after I had decided to call things off because it didn't seem like she was that into me. And so then she would have to correct me. And then it was just very confusing. And so I felt very guilty that I was at fault for a lot of things. And I was held responsible for a lot of things that eventually, through some of the conversations we had, I was learning, this wasn't my responsibility at all. We did have a conversation.
How long was this time period where you're in this thing called dating, and she's not really forthcoming about how she really feels, and you guys are in a disconnect? How long was that time?
It was an off and on period of about 2 years.
Wow, that's significant. Now, when you go off and on, generally when you go off, somebody says something of there's a reason you're going off, and the other person says something back, and you find out, oh, is this a false off or a true off? And so did she?
Yeah. No,
what was she saying every time you went off and on? What was she telling you?
well, I'll give you an example here, and this tended to be the pattern that.
Okay, but I gotta go a little fast to get to a quick question. But
Oh, yeah, sure. So I'm just well, let me ask you the question here. We'd had a conversation. I tried to gently say, hey, look, what it sounds like you're telling me is that you were essentially leading me on. I'm not trying to get you, but she blew up at me and said, well, I'm a liar, I'm a loser. You want a gun so you can shoot me, that kind of thing. And I thought, well, gosh, this is that really kind of threw me for a loop, and
wait a minute.
I didn't know
just
what to say.
Wait. Stop for a second, because I'm confused. You told her she was leading you on, but actually,
I said,
it sounded. Well, hold on a second. It
yeah.
sounded like more. She's saying, like, I wasn't leading you on. I really liked you. In fact, I was leading you the opposite way to think. Leading you on is when we have somebody think that we like them more than they do. We do. She was doing the opposite. She was acting like she wasn't as into you as she was, right?
I think that maybe that was the case. I guess I'd have to think about that. I think my point is just that what I thought that her expectations and desires that she was going along, because you covered this in some of the previous episodes where, someone would go along with what their partner or their love interest would want in hopes that, trying to change your personality. And that's what was happening.
All right. She was adapting to you. So what is the question?
So I'm trying to get over this and I don't understand if I'm not, I guess I'm trying to figure out if I'm if this is an example of the deception that someone doesn't need to be tolerating, or how does this factor into everything? Because I've never felt like I've resolved things with her. I felt very hurt by the whole thing, because I felt like I was pursuing someone that wasn't being honest with me.
Okay, but I hate to ask this again. I can't tell.
Sure.
I can't tell from what you're saying which direction she wasn't being honest in. In the beginning, it sounded like you were saying that she wasn't honest about how much she really liked you. Later, it sounded like you were saying
Hmm.
the opposite. Which one was it?
I think that's something that I would have to ask her about, and maybe I'm not sure about that actually.
So you
I don't
still
think we've
don't know.
talked about this.
You still don't know.
It
Is that right?
sounds like she was really into me, but that that she felt like she had to conform to a certain set of expectations that I didn't necessarily have for her.
Okay. All right. Well, let me see if I can answer it this way to you, because the question you're asking would kind of go either way. And there's a simple kind of way to look at this. All right. And then I want to have another way to look at the way you look at this, if that makes any sense at all. Simple way to look at this is when you have a relationship, and I don't know if you can see the screen right now. Can you see the screen? I'm drawing a couple of circles here. Okay. Here's
No,
one person here. Here's the other person over here. All right. Now, in psychological terms, this is sort of like, if this is me, I'm the subject and you're the object, right? So you're the love object, and in the other direction, the other person's the subject and you're the object, right? And so we each have our subjective experiences of the other. You've got experiences of her, she's got experiences of you, all right? Now, that can have very little to do with the reality of how accurate those are, which is what you just said. Subjectively, you're experiencing her one way, but objectively, if we had an x-ray, that's not objectively really who she is or where she is. So when those are off in either direction, if I'm thinking or feeling something that's different than you're thinking, I'm thinking or feeling, then we don't have a connection. And I love the definition for intimacy as into me you see. Intimacy, into me you see. So when we have a real connection, how I'm experiencing you and how you're experiencing me objectively lines up with what is really going on in both of us. And what you said was, and maybe in a couple of different directions, that broke down in this relationship. So here's what I want you to go think about. I want you to go think about getting in touch with your subjective experience of the other person. So when you were in a relationship, you were experiencing her as either, I think she likes me, or I don't think she's as into me as I am her. But you had some experience. And this would be the growth step to begin to, it's twofold: question and trust that experience. So if I'm feeling something, I've got to trust it enough to say, this means something. She feels a little distant right now, or it feels like she's really not liking me right now. She's kind of down on me. I'm not living up to her expectations or whatever. That's my subjective experience. What I've got to do is I've got to trust that, not to be right, but I've got to trust it enough to say, I'm going to trust it that it means something. Now I've got to find out, what does it mean? And that's the next step. I've got to say, is this because I feel like I'm not likable by somebody that I like? Or am I onto something really that's true here? And that's when we take our subjective experience and our feelings and we begin to check it out and we put words to it. And so when you're
Mm.
going along in a relationship, this is where somebody begins to intimacy, have more intimacy, and I'm going to let you see into me because I'm going to be talking about going into the fear. I'm going to get back on the horse, even if I'm afraid. I'm going to say, you know, Mary, we've been going out a while, and I really like you, and I find the more time we spend together, I find more that I like. Um, are you experiencing the relationship like that? And you're checking it out along the way. See, it's kind of problematic when when you're saying y'all could break up and get back together and break up and get back together and off and on several times or a few times or whatever in the course of a couple of years and never really know something's going wrong where she's acting in a way that you're not trusting your experience enough and confronting that and wanting a straightforward answer and saying, I'm not going further unless I know what's going on
Mm.
here. So I want you to my team always laughs at me. Here, I'm going to say it again. One of my favorite Bible verses says, it says that solid food is for the mature. You take a baby, they can't eat solid food, but as they mature, then you can have solid food. Solid foods for the mature, who through practice have had their senses trained, it says, through practice, their senses trained to discern good from bad. So a lot of times people have been talked out of their senses. They've been talked out of their intuition. This doesn't feel right. Well, no, this is a nice person. I'm going to go forward. Well, it doesn't feel right. And they don't listen to that little voice inside. And they go forward and they say, I should have listened to that voice. Other times people feel the opposite. They feel like, well, they're not really into me, but the person is. And if they had listened to that and intimacy, let somebody see, say, you know what, I like you. And sometimes I'm kind of afraid that, do you like me too? And they go, that's all in your head. I think you're amazing. Well, now we cleared up the problem and we have a connection. Okay. So I hope that's helpful to you. I want you to go think about those subjective things, getting in touch with them and expressing them in the relationship a little sooner. Okay.
Mm. Thank you very much. That's helpful.
Okay, Brian, thank you for calling. Have fun down in Texas. And I'm so glad that you're a part of our Boundaries.me community. It is it's such a great thing that's forming with all the people and the groups and all of that. And the thing I like about it is people like you is that they're into growth. They're take the next step. Go work on this stuff. So hope that goes well for you. 844-940-2774, 844-940-2774. We are at a Friday. I got to tell you guys a story. Jessica, you can tell me if Jessica's on our team and she's monitoring I think Facebook and other places right now. If you guys care, I will do this. I'll show you something in the last few minutes of the program. So I think I shared. So our family had an incredible family dog. Still get sad. Riley was her name, and she was a kid's dog from the time they were 5 years old, and our family dog, and we just lost her a couple of months ago. She was 10, kind of went early. She had bone cancer. And so we've been in deep grief over Riley, and we've gone through that process. And it's been a couple of months now, I guess. And finally, we kind of thought we were ready. And so last night, I think I said this on the show. Yesterday, we went way up the coast, or way up the state, and to Central California, and we came home with a new little Doberman puppy. So the Cloud family has a new addition. And the reason I was going to tell y'all that is when I said it's Friday, I don't know what day it was because we got home at 2 a.m. and I'm crate training, the first night crate training. If you've ever done that with a 10-week-old, the first night of crate training, they don't like it, and so I don't know what day it is. I don't know what hour it is. But if you tell Jessica, I could probably text the kids at the end of the show. You can meet little no name yet, and we're taking suggestions for female Doberman names. We'll send them in. Okay. There's where I am today, in need of sleep. But I'm awake now, so let's go back to the phones. Mary's calling us from Ohio, and she wants to talk about something that's going on back there when it's coming time to be looking at retirement season of life. Mary, welcome to the program.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Cloud. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I've been doing boundaries for a couple of years, and just appreciate all your wisdom.
Oh, well, I'm glad you have joined us. And nothing like growing, right?
I recommend
it. Strengthening those muscles.
Right, exactly, growing. So I'm calling. I've been a retired teacher for 3 years, and my husband just partially retired. He was working like 10-hour days, and he's partially retired. But during those 3 years, I would go and walk every day with my girlfriend, my other retired teacher friend, and just absolutely loved it. And so,
wait. Say the timeline again.
I've been retired for 3 years. And during those 3 years, I built a life, of friends and lunches out.
But he's been working during those 3 years?
Yeah, he just semi-retired in November.
Okay, now I got it. So he was working, you retired in that 3 years, you built, some other parts of your life, and now he's retired. Right. And so now what do you do?
So, we went to Ecuador for 2 months, and he kind of had me all to himself, those 2 months. And it was good. He's from Ecuador. But now we're back. Of course, coronavirus, the quarantine and all that stuff. But my girlfriend just lives, just down the street. And we started walking together. But I was walking with him during the coronavirus and everything. And so, but I'm really missing being with her. You know what I mean? And
wait a minute. Time out. Why is it either or?
Well, I mean, because I really don't want to walk with the three of us. You know what I mean? It's like
but why? Whoa, stop. I'm gonna. One of the things I love to do, and you've probably heard me do this, is I just like to ask the obvious question, right? Why don't we do what's obvious? Yeah. And then you get to usually the issues, because most of life is pretty obvious what the answer is. Okay. So we're in lockdown here, right? I'm in lockdown.
Right. Yeah.
So we've been in lockdown for however long, a couple months now. Okay.
Yeah.
My wife has 2 close friends, right? That they have walked together 2 or 3 mornings a week for years and years. They get up early and walk together. Yep. I'm here every day now. They haven't stopped walking together. And she and I, well, I say walk, I'm waiting on a knee replacement. So I stumble or I get on a bike and kind of follow her. Right. But why can't you have both? That's my point. Why can't you and your husband and then you have your own time alone with your friends? Social distancing approved and all that.
So, well, I guess because when we wake up, he's like, let's go walking. And so I'm like, well, okay. So, we've been doing that, during this quarantine for like a good month and a half, but now my girlfriend is like, let's go walking. So they're both kind of wanting to walk with me kind of at the same time. So,
stop. Hang on. I got to go back to the obvious. There's 24 hours in a day.
So I have to go walking twice.
Well, you got to do something with him. You got to do something with your friends. You can't. A marriage is not supposed to kidnap somebody where you don't have an outside life, and your friends are not supposed to kidnap you away from where you can't have a marriage.
Right, right.
Why don't you do
Well, I
both?
feel my girlfriend is, she's kind of like backed off a little bit. I mean, I can tell she's not like, texting me like regular like she was,
Well,
because she
that's
knows
because
that
you're
I walk
saying
with
no to
him.
her all the time, right?
Right. So then I just started texting her and say, let's go walk. And so we go early in the morning. So like the night before, like yesterday, I said, I'm walking with her tomorrow morning. And he kind of puts his puppy dog face. And,
Oh, so
and
now
then I just say, I haven't walked with her, it's been 4 days since I walked with her.
But why can't, I'm still
So
not getting the obvious. Why can't you say, we're going to walk with her in the morning and you and I can go walk after that or later than that or tonight? Or
that
I don't
sounds,
understand why you can't.
great to me.
What?
That sounds great. I just break it to him.
Oh, now we're getting to
That
the
sounds,
under the now we got the obvious, and now we got the termites under the obvious, and they're like
right.
chewing on the obvious. No, no, no. Okay, now what happens when you got to break it to him? My wife just tells me, "Hey, I'm going for a walk. I'll see you." I go, "What am I doing? I guess I
Right.
got to go do something." So
Well, I think
what's
I think because we set up this thing of walking regularly, us, he feels like I am, preferring her over him. You
why
know,
is it
so
over?
I know it shouldn't be, but I
No.
think, yeah.
Look,
So
look here. Wait a minute. I have an answer for you. Are you
oh,
ready?
good, oh, good.
All right. A marriage always has, in my view, three different stakeholders.
Yeah.
Okay. Every entity has multiple stakeholders. A marriage has three stakeholders. The number one stakeholder is the relationship. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We
Yeah.
both gotta put the relationship, our relationship is more important than anything just that I want or just that you wanted. Like, for example, I love my work, I love my career, but if I put my career above my marriage, it's gonna fall apart,
Right.
right? Or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
same thing with her, whatever her passions are and interests are and all that. Okay, so the relationship is a stakeholder, and the relationship has got to get from this budget. Okay, got an appropriations committee here. It's got to
Mm-hmm.
get from the budget the time and energy and money that it needs, that the
Right.
relationship needs. All right. There's two more stakeholders though that are going to eat from that same trough of time and energy and money. You're a
Mm-hmm.
stakeholder and he's a stakeholder. So now what do we have
Yeah.
to do? We got to look at the schedule and say, let's talk about how much and when and what the we time is that we do together. And then let's talk about what I'm going to do on my me time and what you're going to do on your
Mm-hmm.
me time. And
Mm-hmm.
let's put some structure to that. And I don't think that
Okay.
anybody would probably say, well, you can't have any you time. He's not going to say that.
Right.
But
Right.
here's what happens. If we don't structure it and make the decision at the 50,000 foot level, then each particular moment begins to feel like an abandonment. No, I need that. Well, you can't
Mm-hmm.
go.
Mm-hmm.
But if we've
Right.
already agreed to it, sort of like
Right.
Weight Watchers, right? You get however many points a day. Well, then you
Right.
want to, it's not a big problem to go eat that piece of chocolate cake. You just know I just spent spent my
I can eat for
points.
the rest of the week.
So
Right.
sit down. That's my advice.
Right.
Sit down, have a
Okay.
meeting, say, let's look at the week. There's plenty of hours in the week for me to walk with,
There
you know,
is.
my friend and walk
Right.
with you and do a bunch of
Right.
other stuff that we've learned on this retirement time that we have the ability to do together. Okay. Does that help?
Yeah. Okay. That helps a
Try
lot.
that.
Thank you so
Try
much.
that. If y'all run any termites, call me back.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Cloud. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thanks for your
Take
call.
care. Bye-bye. You're welcome.
Bye
Thanks.
bye. You know, a lot of times, there, this is such an important principle. Such an important principle. A lot of times, in the moment, we experience things with an absence of freedom that we could have if we had structured some boundaries. Okay, I'm gonna give you an analogy here. Here's what I mean by the boundaries, the structure of time and energy and all this kind of stuff. You know that if you went on the top of a let's call it 20-story building, right? You're on the top of a 20-story building. They've actually done studies like this. Top of a 20-story building or some height, and there's no guardrail. And you go up on the stairs and you go up through the air conditioner vent or whatever. You end up on top of this building. Look at the views. This is incredible. All right. And there's no guardrail. And you put some people up there to go enjoy the views. And you look at, if here's the square, if there's no guardrails, they'll stay a pretty good distance back from the edge, right? But there's a lot more of the view that could be enjoyed. But every time I start to get close, I start to feel like, am I too close? Now here's what happens. You put a guardrail around the square, they enjoy it because the freedom that the boundary set, they'll enjoy all of what's appropriated in the space. All right, that's what's so great. There's a lot of diet programs out there, a lot of different ways to do this. But one of the important principles is if people don't have freedom and autonomy and choice and have to live within certain boundaries and learn to have that choice, it's never sustainable because that's how the self-regulatory functions of the brain work. We need control. And so that's why when you have some limits, I'm going to surprise you guys here in a second. When you have some limits and you've defined the structure, then you can enjoy it. You got $50 budgeted for play money this month. You don't have to worry about every dollar. Oh, can I afford this? No, it's already built in. So do that with your relationships. Okay. Now, speaking of relationships, I told you I was going to carve out a little time here. Now it looks like the new addition to our family is sleeping, but this is my daughter Lucy, who has been taken care of. No name right here. We don't have a name yet. But okay, now if you look at that face right there, not mine, hers. If you look at that face and you just don't see an amazing creation, then I'd say go to your eye doctor or something, because look at that girl. She's going, I've never been in this room before. Anyway, I just wanted y'all to meet this girl. She doesn't have a name yet. Hey, post some great female name or dude. What's winning right now, Lizzie? What's the
we have Beanie,
Winnie. I'm not too hot on Winnie, but
Pepper.
Maybe Pepper. Anyway, we're trying to see her personality a little bit. She's sleepy right now. When I texted Liz, she says she's sleeping. I said, well, bring her in her sleep. It's okay. All right. I just want to say hi. Look, the camera's right there, girl. She is so asleep right now. You wouldn't have believed her an hour ago. She's like acrobat jumping around out there. Yeah, she's a good one. There she is. She's waking up. Thanks, Liz. Here she is. We'll update you on her training and my training of training. Oh gosh. God's creation. Nothing like it. Nothing like it. There's one of the things I love to argue with people about is I know dogs are going to be in heaven. I'm going to see all my dogs in heaven. And one of the ways I know that because I think the Bible teaches us that a lot of different ways, and they're just incredible. The warm-blooded animals, the ones that make attachments, that nephesh, the soul, are so awesome. So add to life. Anyway, I don't know why I'm preaching about animals. Let's go back to the phones. We are going to talk to Lily, who's calling us from Tacoma and letting us know something it looks like about friendship. Lily, thank you for your call.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi. Thank you for taking my call. I'm doing so good. This is surreal right now.
Now tell me why you're doing so well.
Well, I'm talking to you. This is crazy for me.
Oh, well, I'm I'm glad that's helpful. So,
wow, seriously, I listen to your talk show every single day. So this is whoa.
Well, I'm glad. Now, how did you find it? Did you just stumble across it?
I follow your emails, so I get your emails every morning, and then I was looking up through YouTube. I was looking up some videos by you, and it just popped up. And so last week I streamed 25 hours of you.
What?
I'm not kidding. It was 25 hours in 1 week.
That's some pandemic binge watching, right?
Well, it's when I'm cooking and cleaning and stuff. So
I hope you found something helpful in there. So if you got a question,
I definitely have. Yes,
tell me what I can help
do. So my question is, when do I let friends go and when do I try to work through it? Because I don't want to force friendships, but I want long-lasting friendships. So a little bit of background on that is, so I have a best friend, and I had a best friend, and about 8 months ago, actually about a year ago, she said that she needed space from all her relationships. Not just me, she was going through some depression and needed complete space. And so I respected that and let her have her space. And within the last 3 months.
How long had you been friends?
Over 2 years.
Okay.
So a few months ago, she reached out just saying, hey, how's it going? And like a few text messages. And every once in a while, I get a text message saying like, I read this article and I thought about you, and just really small talk. And so my question is, where is it my job to say, hey, what happened over that last 8 months where I heard nothing, and try to re-engage in the relationship deeper? And where is that forcing her to be at a level of friendship that she's not comfortable with? Because 8 months ago, she said she didn't want a close relationship with anybody. Yeah. Does that make sense? Like when friends pull away, I've had this happen a few times where friends just pull away, and then I want them to stay, but they're obviously pulling away, and I don't know where it is forcing them to stay if I speak up and say, hey, I'm noticing you're pulling away. And where is it just allowing them to be who they are and be in the seasons that they are?
And there's no indication if this was specific in any unique way to you and y'all's relationship versus all of her relationship.
Yeah, so she was going through her childhood trauma was coming up, and she was voicing that a lot to me. So she left the church that she was in.
Her what was coming up?
Her childhood trauma. So there was a lot of projection, and she was aware of it, that she was projecting her trauma on her relationships around her.
But what the thing I'm asking is, was it any different with you? Because you said that this happened a few times.
Not with her. So it's happened a few times with relationships.
No, I understand
where they pull away.
But you're the common denominator, right? And so
that's painful.
No, wait, no. That doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a negative thing at all. In fact, it could be for very good reasons, right? I mean, I'll give you one example. It could be a good reason. There may be something empathic in you. Okay, I don't know. There may be something empathic in you that pulls for deep with people, and you might attract. You might attract certain kinds of people that
is me.
That want to be like known at this deeper level, but they never have been, and then they start to get close, and then because they never have been, now they get scared, and so it could be a common denominator. It could be a common denominator.
Wow.
I don't know.
Wow. You're seriously speaking. No, you're speaking. That is literally me. Like I've done a lot of my own work, And so I bring up childhood, inner child work a lot, not intentionally, just discussing mine. And I draw people in who want to go there. And then they get freaked out and scared because their wounds come out. And then they pull away.
That may be what it is too. So all I'm asking is, it may not be all of their relationships equally, because not everybody's the same. It may be that this is a common dynamic that you experience with people that are drawn into that. So to answer your question, when's it your responsibility to do this or that?
Yeah.
One of the first things I would do is, before you do that, I would sit down and I would say, now, when I look back on this relationship, the time we spent together, how we spent the time, if I look at it with the lenses, like getting some distance on it, is what was happening there, it might have been good for a moment or a season for particular reasons, but is that something really that would be good long term, that I want to go back and try to recapture and get? Or is it something that might have been a seasonal kind of, at that juncture when we crossed in our paths at that time of life, we kind of got from each other where we were and what we needed. And really that is, like Ecclesiastes 3 says, everything has its season. And he says sometimes there's a time to embrace and another time to shun from embracing. Okay? And there are really, when you talk about a path of a lifetime, we're going to have a lot of different friends. And I believe in long-term relationships more than anything else, right? Besides God, same thing, long-term relationship. But they're kind of like, they're concentric circles of long-term relationships. Some are closer than others. And there are some, there's concentric circles of longevity. Because where we were at a certain juncture in time, our maturity level, what we needed, where they were, this, that, and the other, it matched, but it wasn't meant to be BFF. Isn't that best friends forever?
Yeah, that is.
So I would want you to just say, when I look back, that was probably really, really good. That was really important. But understanding her and her capacities and what she wants, and I don't know, do I really want to go back and invest again? And just be sure of that is all. Now, the second thing about it is, and this would be the hard work, and I'm not trying to hurt you here. We all have to do this. But you said, "Oh, that hurts." But I would ask, was there anything about where I was or how I was relating to her that may have been something that she needed to pull away from, and she wasn't really honest enough or strong enough to be honest enough. There was something I would like to hear, or that maybe we should talk about. And then thirdly, it may be that you sit down and you just say, gosh, I hadn't heard from you a while. I know you said you had to take some time away, and sounds like you have. It's good to hear from you again. I'd love to have lunch and just kind of find out where you are. And just go on a listening lunch. No agenda. I'm not going to go deciding, we're going to be best friends or never talk again. Just like to catch up. See where it goes. So I wouldn't struggle with the big question of, is it my responsibility or all that kind of stuff. I would ask myself, what do I really want out of this relationship? And if I'm going to go deeper and invest my time, there needs to be a good reason. And one of the things I really think is important, and unfortunately I got to hop off after this, Lily, is that I don't believe that I don't believe that all relationships are designed or supposed to be equal in depth, or there's just so many reasons for that. I think there are some relationships that are deeper. Different people have different capacities for going deeper. And there's just and I think that what we have to do in our lives is our time and our energy that we're going to pour into relationships. I think we've got to steward that well. If you look at Jesus, for example, he had a lot of relationships, a lot of people, and there's this big circle of people in the religious world that he interacted with, and then there's this, several hundred that it seemed like were the followers, however many, and then at that time before it blew up and got really big, and then there's this group of what I don't know, 18 or 20 or so that seem to be closer. That you hear these names more, and then there's 12. There were the closer, and then there's 3 within that, Peter, James, and John, that it seemed like he was the closest to. And then there was one, John, seemed like that he was the closest to. We can derive that in some different ways. And John's the one that actually wrote all of the passages about closeness and intimacy in friendship and relationship. So you got to ask, maybe it was closest to John because John had the greatest capacity to have that kind of friendship. So I want you to look at and steward your time and energy and think about, what are the relationships that I want to focus most deeply on and give them the most of your time and energy, or the best, or the first, or whatever. And then we have friendships at all sorts of different levels of closeness, and that's not a bad thing. Does that help?
Oh, that helps so much. Thank you so much for taking the time to go over this with me.
You're very welcome. Thank you for your call. Thank you for the encouragement about all those videos you've been watching.
Oh, they're amazing. I had to slow myself down because I'm running out of them.
Well, join boundaries.me.
So make more.
I have. You just got to go to boundaries.me. I'm serious. There's 60 something courses on there.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. Okay, Lily, thank you for your call. And hopefully I'll talk to you again sometime. This is the Dr. Cloud Show. We have run up against that clock again. I don't know how that keeps happening. It's another great week. It has been so cool to spend time with you guys this week. I wish we had a best of highlights reel where we could kind of play little clips of. I mean, there's so many callers this week that just fly through my mind of it was fun. Some were painful, some were deep, but they all have meaning. And one of the things I love about this audience is that you guys approach life like it really, really, really matters and it really means something. And you also approach it realizing that I'm not going to get the full meaning out of this life if I don't engage it and find out how I've got to meet the demands of this life. One of my favorite sayings, an immature person asks life to meet his or her demands. A mature person meets the demands of life. And life shows up every day, guys. It knocks on our door. And life is a cornucopia, right, of all these incredible things. It's incredible things that are available in life and everything that God has designed life to be. And life shows up every day. And it says, if you want to participate in me, I'm going to ask something of you today. I'm going to ask something of you. You got to meet that demand if you want to have the life that you want. We start off in the very beginning about one of those demands sometimes is sometimes I might have to lean into a little fear. Life is asking me to meet that demand. It's demanding that if you want this, the goodness that's on the other side, I want you to step in. I'm going to demand that you step in. Life is the drill sergeant is asking me to show up. Any relationship, it's going to put demands on you to show up. Have a hard conversation sometimes. Sacrifice. Deny yourself for the other stakeholder in the relationship. Might be something I really, really want, but because I love them and I want something better with them, I'm going to meet that demand. I'm going to die to my own interests, at least at this moment for this thing. Or I might have to meet the demands of healing. You know, life is demanding that I maybe pick up the phone and call a counselor or go join a support group or a recovery group or something. And it's asking me to show up. And that's what I love about this audience. That's how we started on this rant. Because you guys show up. You do. I see it on Facebook and other platforms. You show up and you share. I had that problem. I had to do this. This was hard for me. Try this. It's not going to be easy. We're supporting you. You say all that to each other, and it is so great to see you doing that. So anyway, I'm glad to end another week with you. After this, I hope to get some sleep. I've been up most of the night with a new puppy who doesn't like the crate, so she makes a lot of noise. But I had some boundaries, right? I didn't rescue her and let her howl, and finally she just cocked herself out a few times, and now she's kind of hanging out in the crate pretty well after one night of not giving in. Boundaries. Okay. Go to boundaries.me and check it out. Become a subscriber and join all of this group of people that are going together. Take the show link, share it with your friends. If we continue to build an audience here, we will stay. All right. I'll see you guys on Monday. And I think we're at our regular time on Monday. Team, are we at our regular time on Monday? I think we are. Let's check that out. Looks like we are our regular time, I think. I'll see you then. Okay. Have a good weekend, guys.